timestamps. It shows the like you can click to it and it'll jump to that point in the episode,
perfect.
which I think is fucking sick. But yeah,
well, how
man,
do you
all
want
right.
to start this?
I'm fresh off the. I will say I'm fresh off the golf course. I haven't showered because I'm trying to be timely for you, Anthony.
I appreciate it.
And for the listeners, let me tell you something. Anthony said he doesn't trust y'all enough to smoke before an episode because he thinks you guys will judge him. So he rushes me at night. He's like, I want to smoke. I want to relax and watch my movies. I can't record TBM. So we're doing a late night recording, but we got to rush through. It's gonna be like a 30-minute episode, so Anthony can get his smoke on.
We can take our time. You know, it's mostly for my motor functions to be as fluid as possible. That's like, you know, when I like to smoke, I like to disengage from reality a little bit. No, I got a lot to talk about, dude. I'm excited for this week's episode. It's gonna be a doozy.
Yeah. I'm really excited to talk about Pearl for sure because there's some thoughts. So there's some episodes we have like we need to drop the totally biased music and just be totally biased because there's some episodes I'm more excited about the movie than I am the music. Which this is one of those episodes. Not that I just love J. Cole.
Hell yeah!
All right, well ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, you're coming fresh off the golf course. You want to hit this Pretty Lights topic for just a hot second, and then we'll go into the grooviness.
Yeah. Let's do that. So I didn't watch all of the Sunrise set. Okay. I made it about halfway through. And do you have the set list up?
Well, there's like, I mean, so for the listeners out there, like Pretty Lights music is touring right now. The 5-piece band, it's pretty magical. They just played Bonnaroo, and you know we have a lot of history with Bonnaroo, you and I, as does Pretty Lights. And yesterday morning at 3 a.m. Central Time, I guess. So they did a sunrise set, and it's recorded. It's on YouTube for everyone to go watch. But there were some moments in the set that I just wanted to like bring to your attention, and now I'm getting the feel that you may not have gotten to that point in the set yet.
No, I would save it. I would save it because I got to finish it.
All right, then this is what we'll just leave this as a teaser, and then let's do an aside at some point, like 20-minute aside on the sunrise set. But listeners, go out and find it. It's on YouTube. Pretty Lights Live is a website, and also prettynights.com is a website where you can find all the most recent streams and sets. So get tuned into that. Also, this coming the 21st, I believe, he's going to be playing, or they're playing Electric Forest this Friday night. And they're going to stream every set on Twitch through the Lucid stream. So listeners, dig into that. And we'll go deep.
I will say it's fucking crazy to see him playing the what stage, you know? And like, I was like, I'm happy with my decision to retire, right? I'm old. It's time to tap out. But like part of it is like, do I pull a Michael Jordan? Do I come out of retirement and just do a little 3P real quick? Because the videos I've been seeing for Bonnaroo, man, like I miss it a lot. And seeing him on the what stage is crazy. When I saw him, I saw him in 2013. This is a real fact, and people don't believe me when I say this. When I saw him in 2013, he played from 2 a.m. to 7:30. 7:30 in the morning. He played a 5.5-hour set in 2013. And I didn't even, my small ignorance, how old was I at that point? What was that, 11 years ago?
Young
like
Blake.
16, 17. I didn't stay for the whole set because like the sun was not even rising. It was up. Like it was up and he was still playing. I was like, dude, I got to call it, man. I got to get some sleep. But he was on the which stage, so it's cool to see him on the what stage, and like, man, he's come a long way. And I'm not as deep in that world as like you and Trey and Christian. I do obviously will always appreciate him and love him, and there's a special place in my heart. But like, as I text you, and this is gonna piss a lot of people off, but I gotta say it, like I wish it were Nectar, you know. That's the thing.
Let me say this, because you and I both come from that same vein of you know, dedicated bass heads, and we've been, you know, balls deep in that project. But what Pretty Lights is doing now is taking what Bass Nectar did, which was there's no limits to what you might hear at a show. Basically everything is on the table, and what they're doing is they're weaving it even better than how he did it. So like, I mean, we'll do a Bass Nectar episode at some point and go talking into like the live shows and all, but like when you're at a show and you hear something that's familiar, knowing it's not the artist that's on stage, but also knowing that it's being created live, that's a special feeling. So like Pretty Lights band right now, in my opinion, is the best band that's performing because of that fact, because everything is on the table, and who knows what you're going to hear, how you're going to hear it, or what you might hear it blended, or what they're calling swirled, basically sampling and around, it's phenomenal. And to have 5 guys doing it on stage in sync, plus all the production, plus all the behind the scenes, like it is beyond next level. So like pay attention now. Blake, I hope you go see a night at Red Rocks in August, at least one. But it's worth catching in some form or fashion. If not live, the streams, and if not streams, listen to the audio, because the audio is high quality soundboards, and you put headphones on and it translates. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I would like to, I mean, the tickets are obviously sold out, so I'll have to see how much resale is. But like the first time around, the whole Mission Ballroom shit, like it was such a, that's one thing that really turns me off about like going to shows now, is the tickets are they sell out so quickly. The resale is so outrageous. And like, I can't, for a lot of these artists, like it's hard for me to justify spending the money when I've seen them 20 times, like for Dead & Company, I said I wasn't going to go to the Sphere because I was like, there's things I want to do that I haven't done. Right. And I've seen this artist 15 times. Like, do I really, and it lined up for Amanda and I, we were there, we were in Vegas. We're like, all right, let's do it, because we're here. That wasn't our goal for being there. So when it comes to like Pretty Lights or Dead & Co. or whoever it is, there's nobody that I have that drive to spend the money on anymore, apart from like, honestly, Fish. Like Fish is somebody who I have not seen enough, and I love them. I think they're arguably the greatest band in the world right now, and like I should be spending the money to go see them, but instead I'm spending the money to like go see people I've seen 20 times, and that to me is like hard to justify. But at the same time, like those experiences when you leave are still worth that. But like there's other stuff I want to do outside of music, that I haven't had the chance to do. So in terms of Red Rocks, I gotta see what the ticket prices are doing and kind of go from there. But I obviously really want to go, if I can make it happen for a reasonable price.
Yeah. Well, you're connected. You just go to the lot and you're in. So that's what I mean. Just you're too close. Yeah, you're too close to not. But all right.
For sure. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's Totally Biased Music. It's Blake and Anthony. And today we're talking Born Sinner by J. Cole and Pearl, which is a Ty West, I think is how you say his name. That's how I'm going to say it, is Ty West.
Yeah.
Which is
Mr.
a
West.
Prequel to X, which is also a prequel to Maxxxine, which is coming out soon. So in terms of Born Sinner, the Apple Music intro is brief. Guest verses on Cole's second studio album come from 50 Cent and Kendrick Lamar, but it's the R&B touches that imbue the project with its defining soul. TLC's T-Boz and Chili bring a summer sheen to Crooked Smile. Miguel helps turn Power Trip into a melodic laminate on Love, and the Dirty Projector's Amber Kaufman graces the dramatic She Knows. So huge J. Cole fan. Everybody should know this by now. Fucking love him. Ride or die. Probably my top 3 hip-hop artists of all time. I fucking love everything about him as a person, as an artist. He's great. So I've listened to this album a number of times, but in terms of introducing Anthony to hip-hop, making him listen to hip-hop, I want to pick an artist that I think he can vibe with and get down with, and I think J. Cole is that artist. And J. Cole and Anthony, I feel like, have a lot of similarities. They're both kind of like introspective hippies, like love everybody, love life. They're both thoughtful and thought-provoking people, and so I thought it would kind of touch Anthony's soul a little bit. So Anthony, is this your first listen? And if it is, what did you think upon first listen?
So it is my first listen. In fact, I think when y'all did the Forest Hills album, that was my first time ever hearing J. Cole. So like this is only my second listen to J. Cole, period. But Blake, I will have to say that you have struck a chord for sure, and a nice one. So like this album, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, there was like,
go, baby. That's what we're talking about.
Here we go. Yeah, exactly. Hit your clap button. Where's your clap button?
Yeah, I know. I wasn't ready with it.
But yeah, you weren't expecting it. But no, I mean, like this album strikes me as a very there's a lot of creative parts to this. There's a lot of lines that I really like. There's a lot of musical samples that I really like. There's some instrumentation that I don't know who's playing it, but it sounds really good to my ears. So yeah, like I said, a few tracks into it, I was like, okay, what's the feel for this, but like, it's really, there's a lot of different elements to it. There's some smooth R&B elements. There's some what I call like breakdown downbeat kind of tracks in there. Some beautiful vocals. And I love how the album loops, like these looping albums. The Wall was one. Shit, I can't remember the other ones, but this album, it starts off with like a distorted chorus and not really knowing what that's going to lead to till the final track. But the ending of Born Sinner is that choir in clarity, which I was like, all right, I hats off, I mean, like, I really like that type of detail really resonates with me, along with some other things throughout this album. So yeah, excited to talk about it. And yeah, good choice.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you liked it. And like, I think J. Cole he's very similar to Mac Miller in a sense that his growth is so exponential, and he has really come into himself as an artist like so well. He's really found his lane. He's only improved, I think, as his career has gone on. And there's so many, like, it's so funny because 2014 Forest Hill Drive is arguably his most popular album and it's his most successful album, but like, I don't think it's his best album. And going back and listening to Born Sinner and then listening to what he has done after the fact has shown that he's just evolved into himself really, really well. And he's just a very talented rapper. And I think there are people like J. Cole I saw a tweet one time which drove me fucking insane, but somebody said that they don't like J. Cole's diet misogyny, like basically saying that like he's a misogynist or like he's transphobic or he's homophobic and things like that in some of the lines that he has made. But I don't think that he is. Like, I think he's a very open-minded person. There are lines in hip-hop that, may be controversial. And in Illuminati, right, he says the F word multiple times. And like, but I don't think that he's doing it in a disingenuous way to punch down on people. I think he's using it as a line in his songs. And, there's a debate to be had about that. But I think he's a really smart guy. And like, it's funny, J. Cole, like, and he mentions it a lot. I don't know if he does it in this album, but he mentions like, I think J. Cole always wanted to be a basketball player because he played for a Canadian basketball league professionally for a little bit. And like, he mentions it. Yeah. He mentions it a lot in his album. The Off Season is the cover is him with a basketball hoop in the background. Like I think J. Cole wanted to be a basketball player and wasn't good enough and was like, all right, I guess I'll be a fucking rapper. But it worked out for him. And Born Sinner is like, he's really starting to come into himself in Born Sinner and become what he is, right? That everybody always says the big three is Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole, and Born Sinner is kind of the start of that. And so going back and listening to it, man, like this is kind of a spoiler, but there's not a lot of songs in here that I don't like, like there are some songs that I wish there was more to it, but this album front to back is great. And like you said, like ending with Born Sinner, and I've always listened to the deluxe version, so it goes on and there's a number of good songs, but Born Sinner ending and then going into Illuminati is great because Born Sinner is such a beautiful song. It's like a perfect send off, and then going into Illuminati is like you could just let that shit loop if you wanted it to,
Right. Right.
So it's been really cool.
Is there any like J. Cole docs or like backstory of him? Because like I was curious as to where he's from, but like I just see he's born in Germany, so like military family and all. So it's like it's an interesting story, I'm sure.
He's from Fayetteville, North Carolina. And honestly, I should have told you this prior to this, but 2014 Forest Hill Drive, there's a documentary that is so he released a live album of 2014 Forest Hills Drive where he played in Fayetteville. And so the live album is on Spotify and he plays the whole thing front to back. But there's a documentary that originally released on Prime, I think, and I don't know if it's still on there or where it is, but documentary is him playing in Fayetteville, but in between it is him basically in Fayetteville talking about his childhood, going to school, meeting with friends of his mom's in it. And it's really, really good and interesting. And I baby raged a little bit on Instagram a while back because you and I have talked a lot about how much streaming sucks, and they took the live album off of Spotify for like a month randomly, unannounced. It was just gone. And I was drunk at the time that I discovered it, and I texted I called a friend of mine. I didn't even text him. I called him and was like, 2014 Forest Hills Drive Live is not on Spotify. And he was like, first off, why are you calling me? Second off, why is it not on Spotify anymore? And they ended up putting it up a month later. But the documentary is really cool, man. It's just him riding around like in his hometown and kind of just talking about his upbringing. And it's really interesting. So you should definitely watch it when you get a chance. But yeah, it's cool to see kind of where he came from.
Yeah, and I just kind of Google searched, J. Cole documentary, and it looks like there's the off-season documentary, just a short film, I guess, at 13 minutes. For Your Eyes Only is enough. Yep. So there's seemingly a lot of content out there to consume. So I'll check it out.
And you'll like this. He put a lot of the album that he just released called Might Delete Later. He put a ton of it on YouTube, where it was like him. It was basically him in studio sessions for songs that he thought that were going to be throwaways. And so it's him recording, it's him like doing shit on tour. Like there's videos of him on tour and stuff like that. And they're all on YouTube. They're really, really interesting. So I think like his desire to provide like accessible content is really cool. And he kind of opens people up to what he's doing in his life and stuff like that. So yeah,
and just for my memory, what was the controversial track? Was it 7 Minute Drill?
7 Minute Drill, which is no longer on streaming. It is gone. He took it off streaming, so you got to find it on YouTube or something. I'm sure it's still out there. Obviously,
I have to like, because I forgot about all that controversy listening to this album, because I'm like, this is obviously before the time, So
right.
I'm still like mentally with J. Cole in 2013. I have not gotten to present day, so like. I'm taking it one step at a time before I may change my opinion. So we'll see.
Yeah. And he, what's funny is this album came out at the same time, and he said there's a line in, I can't remember which song it is, where he says he's going to drop it on the same day as Kanye. So this album, Yeezus by Kanye, and Watching Movies with the Sound Off by Mac Miller came out all on the same day. And I remember I drove a Jeep Liberty in high school. I remember driving to Best Buy in Alabaster and buying all three of those albums at the same time and just putting it in the car and just letting that shit fucking ride one by one by one. It was like, it's such a, like, looking back on it, me and Trey talk about this a lot. It was like such a monumental day for hip hop because those albums are all so good. And just to listen to them all back to back to back was great.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that is like a day, I guarantee like a fuck ton of people remember that day and have probably similar experiences of like, can you believe this shit is happening? How lucky are you?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's get into top tries. What do you got for top three?
All right, so number 3, I've got Born Sinner. It's just it's the R&B feel. It's this voice harmony of this guy. What's his name? James. How do you say his last name?
Oh man,
James
Fauntleroy.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, beautiful voice. Beautiful name that's hard to pronounce, but yeah, I loved it, and I love, like I said, the ending really kind of sealed the deal for me. It's like that little detail. It's like, again, I get it. Yeah. Number 2, well, so I also have these tracks kind of broken down in another category. So like number 3, Born Sinner, I had is the soul track. Number 2 is Rich N-Words.
Yeah, Brothers. We can replace it with Brothers.
Yeah, Rich Brothers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love the sample going throughout that track. It's just like it's a hypnotic track. It's very like twinkly, but he blends it really well. And there's a line in there about Kurt Cobain that I really was like, really resonated with it. I wonder if I can search. Do you know that line off the top of your head?
No, I don't.
Okay. So one moment, we're going to pull it up. Talking about holding a shotgun. Not from Mo Money like Damon Wayans. I mean, he's full of references throughout. Okay, so now I'm Kurt Cobain. Now I'm Cobain with the shotgun aimed at my brain because I can't maintain no more. Tad bit extreme. I know money can't save your soul. Yeah, it's like ending of one of those verses. Yeah. So like that one, I was like, I get bringing him up, but like interesting way to do it, and it worked for me.
Yeah.
Also, there's strings in that song I really loved. And the number one track for me, this one was a thinker. This one was the meta track, and it's Let Nos Down. You know, I
Yeah,
fucking
dude.
really dug it, you know, and it like made me want to dig deeper and deeper and like thinking as to what the song was that he was referring to, you know, from the first album.
Did you figure out
And
what it was?
yeah, it was Workout.
Yep.
Workout from the first
Yeah.
album. Yeah. Again, there's saxophone in that track that I'm like, oh man, and again, it's a storytelling song. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of moments like that throughout the album that I really enjoyed. Um, and just for you know, to put it out there, the skits didn't throw me off. Like I felt like everything kind of
Interesting.
did flow. You know, it flowed. Some of it was funny. There was like a religious advertisement early on, you
Yeah.
know, that
Yeah.
was funny. And yeah, so like I said, I really enjoyed it, man. But those three tracks, Letting Us Down, kind of takes the cake for me.
Yeah, nice. Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm very I'm close to you. So Born Sinner number 3 for me for sure. And I love the end of the second verse where he says, they tell me life is a test, but where's the tutor for me? Pops came late. I'm already stuck in my ways, ducking calls from my mother for days. Sometimes she hate the way she raised me, but she loved what she raised. Can't wait to hand her these house keys with nothing to say. Like that's such a good line. And like he loves. What's funny is in 2014 Forest Hills Drive, uh, he has a song called oh fuck, I'm not gonna remember it off the top of my head. Apparently is all about his mom, and in the documentary, she's in the crowd when he's performing it, and like you can just tell the relationship between him and his mom is like obviously really interesting. In the documentary, it's funny. He said that like growing up, and he touches on this in later albums. Like growing up, he wanted to like he felt like a need to basically be like hood, like be somebody he wasn't, and he wanted to
Yeah.
go to like a shittier school, and his mom's like, you're not going to that fucking school. Like you're going to a private school, you're gonna get a good education, you're gonna learn how to, you know, act and be an adult. And I think their relationship is really interesting. And so that song in particular, like, you know, it talks about kind of his relationship and his come up with his mother and kind of how their dynamic worked. So I think it's really cool. And like you said, the James Fauntleroy, if that is how you say his name, apologize
Yeah.
to James if that's not how you say your name. I know you'll probably hear this pod, so it's his chorus is great, man. He's got a beautiful voice, and it's so great to listen to. So I really like that song. And you know, I've always what's funny is when you texted me about the deluxe or the normal, I've only ever listened to the deluxe. That's the only thing on Spotify, and it's also the only thing on Apple Music. So there's not unless,
There's no
and
way
I'm
to know.
sure, and I know in my car I have the normal version. I
Right.
have the CD because I still have a stack of CDs in my car.
Hell yeah.
So
Hell
the
yeah.
normal version is in there, but I've only ever listened to the deluxe. And then like, okay, here's where it gets really difficult because there's so many songs that I like so much, but like I have to put Illuminati at number 2 because this dude is rapping his ass off in this song, man. He is going crazy, and I love. I have to pull up the lyric so I can read it off, but there's a moment in the
Only a
third
few you can
verse.
read.
Yeah, that's true. But there's a moment in the third verse where he says he said couple more A's I would have, or he said, so he's talking about the Illuminati, and he says, old white billionaires, I'm sure they can do without me, and I ain't really into sacrificing human bodies. Couple more A's, I would have been a summa cum laude. Beyonce told me that she wants to cop the new Bugatti. That shit is more than what I'm worth. I think she knew it probably. Well, this is really awkward. Like, I think that line is so funny, and the way that he delivers it is just like, it's so rapid fire that the rhymes just flow together so well, dude. I love the way that he does it in that verse. So
I agree.
and there are some moments like I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
I support gay people everywhere. All right. I am
not a bigot.
Yeah, I'm not a bigot, and I don't think J. Cole is either, right? But there's some lines that are questionable. in the beginning of that, but it was 2013. You know, it was a different time.
Yeah.
So I don't think he had any ill intent with that.
No. And the Biggie sample is an interesting double entendre too. You know, like having the Born Sinner sample in that track and then calling the album Born Sinner, but like the sample at the beginning of that song and at the end of Born Sinner is a totally different chorus,
right.
you know? So
right.
like I applaud that as well.
Yeah. And then the top track for
Number
me
one.
Is Rich Brothers, man.
Yeah, they
rich friends, rich whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Yeah, rich homies. You know what's funny is like this song is like so. This is what I'm talking about with Cole. Like I know that people have made comments about how he's the common consensus around him is he's not as deep as he pretends to be, right? But the thing is like this song is the perfect example of like that he is as deep as he thinks he is. Like it is a very poignant song about money, what it does to people, how it affects them, how it affects the people around them. Like, and it's like it draws you in, right? He's talking about his mother. He's talking about her delivering pizzas, right? It's her second job. She has to provide for her son, and he's just praying that she's okay when she's doing it, right? In a bad area, hoping that she's all right. And like, there's just so much emotion in that song. It's very powerful. It's a very good song. Like, and J. Cole has the mentality to think about what is happening in his life and how it correlates to people all over America that don't have money, right? That grew up in that same instance that he did. And I think it's just like it's really like the pinnacle of this album. It's so good. It shows off his lyricism, it shows off his flow. The beat is so simple, but it's so beautiful, right? There's this nice, like, just melodic violin happening throughout the whole thing. The chorus is great. Like, it's so good, man. And like there are times where like I do this thing where if I'm sitting at home, right, and I don't have anything going on, I'll sip some drinks, play some video games, and put music on or whatever. And like, I was listening to this album last night again, and I was drinking some vodka sodas and listening. And I got to this song, and I didn't cry. I don't want people to think I cried, but like I was like I was getting choked up. I was like, this is an emotional fucking song, man. Yeah. It's good. Like it's really, really good. And there's a lot of emotion in it. And I think he's caught in a battle of like, I want this money. What cost is it, right? Like, what is the cost I'm paying to have this money? How am I going to respond when I do have this money, right? And I don't know. It's a really, really good song to me. So to me, like that's the best part of the album.
Yeah, I think it's really introspective and like again, the sample, like the kind of scales that are happening up and down just throughout this track. It's drawing you in, and then when you start to dig into the lyrics, I think it only, blooms to something even more special. So yeah, I agree, and it's right where it should be, right in the middle. Like you got to get there.
Yep, 100%. All right, so let's get into some bottom tracks. What do you got for bottom tracks?
All right, so I'll say this. I mean, nothing made me want to change the track, so like nothing made me want to bail, which I really appreciate. But there were a couple little things that I could say didn't really resonate with me so much. So I got three qualms, we'll call them.
All right.
So one is on She Knows. It's the pretty much everything except for the last 30 seconds of that track. It's something about like the fast repetitive rhymes, just like come on with it, but the last 30 seconds is totally different. It's like very slowed down, very like drawn out. I'm like, oh God, go off of that, but it leads you into the rich homies, and I forget about it completely. So
I will say, just a little side note, there's a video which I meant to send you, which is such a great video. There's a video of him and Drake. I think they're in Toronto, and this is around the time the album came out, and they go to it's on the album release day. They go to a Best Buy in Toronto, and they they grab the stack of Born Sinners and they put them in the little tray they have or whatever, and then they walk by and Drake sees his album and he's like, go ahead and throw that in there, and he throws his album in, and then they go to the checkout and like he buys basically the whole rack of Born Sinners, but like in the background like of the video they're playing She Knows, so every time I listen to She Knows I think of that video.
I get it. And like, you know, that's the thing, it's like, why I still have no like concept as to this beef, you know, being something either legitimate or like why, you know. I mean,
yeah,
it's just still like, it still takes me out of it, you know, completely when you got art like this, right, in reality,
right?
So but all right, so my second qualm with this album, it's on Chaining Day, and it is I think just the track itself, it's just like, it felt like an attempt at a chopped and screwed track, to me, you know. And like I said,
that's fair.
That kind of
very slow.
Yeah, like it's slow to the point of like not enjoyable, you know, in a sense. But I made it through. But my number one qualm with this album takes us back to this beef, this big three beef on Forbidden Fruit.
Forbidden Fruit, yeah.
Kendrick cannot help himself with this goddamn alien voice. It still haunts me. It comes out even when I'm like all in J. Cole's world. This alien invades the town and has to like
just comes in and has to make it about himself, bro.
So like instantly now it's J. Cole has separated himself from Drake and Kendrick in my mind, because Drake, it just hasn't proven himself as hard enough, and Kendrick is not even human. Like I don't even know, and not in a good way. But so Alien Voice takes me out of that.
Yeah. That's very fair.
Like I said, otherwise I really enjoyed it, but those are just my qualms.
Yeah. No, I will say, so my bottom tracks, Forbidden Fruit is on there 100%, because like, first off, why does it say featuring Kendrick Lamar when he's not even on the goddamn song, basically? Yeah.
Right.
Like, that annoys the shit out of me, man. Like, it's not a good song, it's not a good beat, like, and I hate Kendrick's like part in this song. Like, it's not even it could have been a sample. They could have just taken it as a sample and not even called it a feature. Like, it drives me crazy, dude.
Yeah.
And then I have Land of the Snakes after the Candy Sermon skit. Like, Land of the Snakes, it's not that it's a bad song. I just really, really dislike the production on this song. It's so, I don't even know how to describe it. It's so basic, man. Like, there's nothing going on with this beat. It almost, like, to me, it's like I would have rather you rapped over nothing. Like, just
just freestyle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't stand the production on this song. And then, like, I hate to be that guy, but like, I don't have anything else, man. I really don't. Like, and I can pick, like, I could throw in a skit in there, right?
Like, you do that.
Yeah, I could throw in the Kenny Sermon skit if I wanted to. But even like Mo Money, the interlude, Mo Money, I fucking love Mo Money. Like, I can't even throw that in as a bottom track. So I have to pick, I guess, the Kenny Sermon skit. But this album, like, if we had gotten into the deluxe version, there's some songs I don't like towards the end. And I do want to say, I want to shout out New York Times with 50 Cent and Boz. Is that
a track?
Just to say, yeah. So it's.
Okay. I thought you were like shouting out the publication. I'm like,
no, fuck them.
Subscribing to. They're behind the paywall.
But that is one of the songs like on the deluxe version, and like it's so good. And 50 only does the chorus, but his chorus is great, man. So I just had to shout that out. But yeah, I don't have like much in terms of what I don't like about this album, man. It's like, it's so good. And what's funny is like Jordan, obviously, you know, you and I and Jordan have talked about music a lot, and you and Jordan align very closely on music and music opinions. And he's not a big hip hop head, but like, I was saying something about J. Cole the other day, and he was saying that him and some friends took like a cross country drive, and he was like, dude, we listened to Born Sinner like 6 times. Like, we just kept letting that shit ride, dude. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how much he loved that album. And I think that speaks to like, it's what's funny is like your reception to it speaks to who J. Cole is as an artist, right? As a hip hop artist. You're not a big, like, you're an old school hip hop head, old school in terms of our generation, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's early 2000s, but like you like older hip hop music. J. Cole is not that, and he still makes music that I think is, if I were to pick an artist that like I was gonna show like my dad hip hop music, right? I would show J. Cole. Not in the sense that like it's not that he's like a Christian rapper, right? Doesn't swear or anything like that, but he makes music that people can relate to. And Jordan told me a story one time that he like walked in on his parents listening to the song Neighbors by J. Cole, which is off one of his later albums. But it's a story about like him and all of his friends living in a giant mansion in a white community and them calling the police on them because they thought that they were drug dealers.
Yeah.
And he walked in on his parents listening to it and was like, what the fuck are you listening to, dude?
Of all the tracks.
Yeah, of all the tracks. And like, but that just speaks to who he is, right? Like J. Cole has this kind of aura around him and this intelligence to him that like his songs have meaning to him, right? And they have a purpose. And I think that he's great at what he does, man. And I love this album. I love him as an artist. So I'm glad that you liked it. I'm really glad that you liked it.
And like I appreciate how heavy-handed he is in all of these tracks, you know, like from a production standpoint, because I think that along with his vocals, you know, really does set this album apart. Where like if this album was, you know, purely instrumentals with no vocals, it would still be pretty decent, you know.
Right.
The vocals obviously enhance it, but there's some samples and, like I said, some melodies that are happening in the backgrounds that are just pretty, they're worth noting, you know?
Yeah.
And something at the end of Chaining Day, or, you know, Chaining Day, it's repeating throughout the track, like, this is the last time, pretty ad nauseum, which turned me off, right? But the interlude starts off with, okay, I lied. And like that, good. Like made me, like, I hear you, you know, you annoyed the shit out of me, but you got me back, you know? So like, again, he's very good at redeeming himself mid-album. So I get it. I love
very
it.
Very good. So, all right, let's do the prediction. What do you think? Oh wait, actually, hang on. Let me get into, let's see album sales. I think they're, okay. So, all right, let me give you an over-under. All right, so 250,000 first week. Do you think it was over or under?
Now, full disclosure, I think I saw on the Wikipedia that because Kanye came out at the same time, I didn't know it was the same day, but I saw Kanye had surpassed him with Yeezus, which I've not listened to, but I'm assuming it's garbage. So like, why?
Shut the fuck up, Anthony.
But anyway, I'll say under 250.
It was actually over 297,000 copies in the first week.
Gotcha.
And it has since been certified double platinum. The album has sold 796,000 copies in the United States as of December 2016. So at this point, probably up to 1 million copies, if not over. So obviously loved by the J. Cole fans, critically acclaimed. You want to take a guess at the Pitchfork rating?
So out of 10, right?
Out of 10.
I'll say they give it a 9 out of 10. That may be too high. That may be way too high.
6, Anthony. They gave it a 6.
Pitchfork.
They're fucking the worst, man. They're the worst. Like,
even when I think they got it, no.
That's what I'm saying, right? And they say J. Cole's Lays Out finds the Rock Nation signee in a referential state of mind. In addition to all the name checks, the album also features Kendrick Lamar, Amber Kaufman, Miguel, and TLC. Here's the thing. Fuck Pitchfork till death. Right. Fuck them. Fuck their writers. I don't know who fucking wrote this, but fuck them, man. And what do you think Rolling Stone out of 5? What do you think they got it at?
I'll say 4 out of 5. That's safe.
3.5. 3.5.
Shit.
Pretty close. Yeah, so they rated a little bit higher, right? 7 out of 10. That's not bad. Bad.
No.
All right. So what are you rated at?
I'm above all of them. And I had to look back to see the albums in the past that I've rated. And of all the hip hop albums that you've brought me, besides Eminem, besides Wayne, besides Biggie, and we'll take Killer Mike's album out of the way. He won the Grammy, or he should win a Grammy for that. But like, this one gets a solid 8.5 from me. Like I said, I really
nice.
enjoyed it. If there are some songs that happen to enter rotation, I'd let them play,
Yeah.
except for Alien Face or Alien Voice, you know. Except for Forbidden Fruit, like, you can't touch that. You just
Yeah.
can't. Yeah, you got to leave that Forbidden Fruit on the tree and don't even look at it. No,
Don't even pull it off the branch,
no,
man.
yeah.
I'm fucking shocked, Anthony. I am shocked, and I'm so happy. This must be what you felt like when
Yeah, last
you
week for
told me
sure.
Tycho when you brought Tycho to me. Like I'm so what a great feeling, man. I'm
Right,
on cloud 9 right now.
I'm telling
And
you.
I will also say 8.5.
Hell
We're
yeah.
perfectly in line with this, and I love J. Cole, but like I said, he just gets so much better as he goes on with his career and his life. And I really want to bring like Born Sinner, like you said, is so like it's all there's a lot of different vibes going on in Born Sinner, right? There's
Right.
music that is very R&B esque, and there's kind of like low key hip hop songs. And then if you get into the Off Season, which is a later album, the Off Season is straight hip hop music. It's just fucking bars. It's simple beats and just him rapping. And so I would love to. I don't want you to listen. No, I can't control what you listen to, but I want to wait and
I
just
get it.
drop like a later J. Cole album on you and have you
I'm
listen to it
down.
and see what you think versus this. But yeah, 8.5, man. Great album.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've already ranted and raged about him enough, but I love Cole as a whole, man.
Yeah, right.
He's so good. So
well, let's
but,
talk your ride or die. We got a little more
yeah.
Cole to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So okay, so my ride or die was the Let Nas Down remix from Nas. So this is Nas's response to Let Nas Down. So for those that don't know, the song Let Nas Down is essentially a story about how Cole put out his label was pressuring him to put out a single on like prior to Born Sinner, his first album. They were pressuring him to put out a single. He put it out. Nas is one of his heroes, and he put it out. Somebody basically told him Nas fucking hates your song, which I think is really funny. And he was really upset about it. So the song that I sent Anthony for Rides or Dies was the Let Nas Down remix, which is Nas's response to J. Cole, basically telling him, "You misunderstood me, brother. I didn't hate the song. I understand the pressure that you were under, and I get what you're going through, but I want you to me the song is basically like I want you to be better than that, right? Like don't give into that. You can do better. This song isn't what you're capable of." And I think the song is really interesting in the context of the album, in the context of Let Nas Down, because first off, Nas is forever one of the greatest, will forever be one of the greatest. And I love Nas as an artist. And I think the song is really great for him to basically say, you know, you could tell that J. Cole was upset by this, considering he put out a whole fucking song about it. And so for Nas to be like, hey, listen, there's no reason to be that upset. Like, this is where I'm coming from, I think was really cool. But I wanted to send it to you just to provide context to the whole story. So what did you think?
Yeah. Dude, I was so glad you did it. And I was because you sent it to me before I had listened to the album. And honestly, I just saw a SoundCloud link and just kind of was like, all right, I'll get there after this. Yeah. And I'm so glad I did, because then it made sense, right? Because I mean, Let Nas Down was like my number one track, and it really drew me in like mentally to find out what that track was, and then to hear this, which I looked up the lyrics, and then the first thing that came up was they're calling this track "Made Nas Proud," Let Nas Down remix, you know. So I'm like, hell yeah. And I got that kind of like mentorship vibe, like from Nas, and because he's spitting fire too,
right?
Like, his lyrics is just like one giant ass verse, just loaded. Yeah. But something he says, you know, talking about J. Cole's like, you got this first album freedoms right now, you know, to enjoy that, but also here come the fourth album pressures of it. So I'm not going to listen to the future albums yet. I'll let you drive that bus for me. But I enjoyed it, man. especially for like I said, the meta. Like this is how rappers should communicate if they're going to communicate in a way, right? I mean, like it's not beef, it's clarity. Like let me clarify this for you, man. You know, versus I'm gonna shit on you and go fuck yourself. You know,
right?
It's like,
yeah, and I think it's really interesting. Like it does provide a certain context that people that follow music and listen to it know that this is a thing, right? Like record labels expect you to do X, Y, and Z. And he even talks about in the remix about how after Illmatic, they wanted him to do this and they wanted him to do that. And it's so funny looking back because Illmatic is regarded as one of, if not the best hip hop album of all time, one of the best hip hop albums of all time. But you can talk to hip hop heads from any generation and they will tell you Illmatic, if it's not number one, it's pretty fucking close, right? It's so funny to hear a record label tell him after that, oh, we need you to do X, Y, and Z. Like, man, let me fucking cook. All right. Yeah. I already created and Nas, what people don't remember is Nas was 19 when he made Illmatic. Like, he was so far ahead of the curve. He was so intelligent and so influential at such a young age that I think his remix was basically just like, look, man, I've been through this. This is what you have to do. And I know you have to deal with this, but like, I'm not disappointed in you, but I want you to be like me. Right, but you can't be Nas. There's no way to be fucking Nas. So I was really excited when you said that Let Nas Down was your favorite because I knew immediately when I picked the album, I was like, I'm gonna send this as my rides or dies just so Anthony can hear the completion of the story. You know?
I appreciate it. Well done. Well done. That's the beauty of this podcast is like you can curate how someone can experience something, you know, and it's like you rarely get that opportunity in a public forum, right? I guess you could call this a public forum, by the way, streaming on Twitch.
True.
So tune in next week, perhaps. But the idea being like it's such a cool way to expose people to things, and like I said, if you can do it in sequence, you can influence them in a positive way, right, or in a more open way. I would imagine.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so what do you got for Ride or Die?
So my Ride or Die, it's a whole different genre we haven't even touched, really. It's kind of the ska punk song, but it has so much nostalgia for me because of the movie Brink. You ever seen the movie Brink, my man? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So this song, Give by the Suicide Machines, is the opening track of the movie, and it's such a fast-paced song into a smooth vibe, you know, and like again, that's me. Like I'm running and then I'm diving in the ocean, and that is this song in itself like really gives me that feeling. I can play it, you know, as a 32-year-old, and it still hits me like it did when I was fucking 10 years old, you know. So like, what'd you think?
It's here's the thing. The pace of this song is like you gotta be in the right mood for it, right? Like it's very like kind of rapid fire. Yeah. You know what it reminds me of? It's like in those early 2000s. The first thought I had was like, what's that movie with Frankie Muniz and the guy that turns blue?
Oh, Big Fat Liar?
Yes, Big Fat Liar. I don't know why, but I was like, I could see this song being in that movie. Like, it sounds like an early 2000s, like, movie kind of song.
Not right.
Like, it was, you know, like, I vibed to it. It was good. It was a ride for me, but it's like, this is one of those songs that you got to be a very specific context for me. Like, I'm not turning this on on a daily basis
this one,
to listen to it, but it's still good. It's so good.
It's more of like a single moment in time versus like Tycho could be like every moment in time.
Right.
Because I listened to the album that this song is on by the Suicide Machines, and like it's ska punk, you know, which is very in your face, you know, for a minute and a half long tracks, you know. So like that's a whole genre. Like I said, the punk scene I'm really not versed in, but the ska scene I am. So this is kind of cool blend. So we'll go down ska road at some point too.
Yeah, very, very interesting. All right, so before we get into the movie, I just want to say, how much of Le Mans did you watch? Did you watch a lot of racing when I sent it to you?
Not a lot. I tuned in here and there, but then I saw it was raining, and I was like, oh fuck, like this is not ideal racing conditions, but they're still racing.
Yeah.
And I did see who won too, but what was your experience? Like you were much more into it.
Yeah, so I watched probably I don't know, 15 hours of it, I would
Holy
say,
shit.
because I was at work. So I worked 10-hour shifts. I ended up working 11 hours. And I had it up the entire time I was at work. And then I came home and turned it back on. And so I went to bed probably around 4 a.m. So I like, right as they were going into the last stretch, which I really, what I should have done in hindsight was go to bed as soon as I got home and woke up for
Yeah.
the end. But I like, towards the end, man, like it gets really, really intense, and there's so much going on, and so I watched up until there was 4 hours left, and I turned it on the TV like when I got into bed, and I was like, "Oh, I'll stay up." I posted on Instagram. I was like, "Yeah, 4 hours left. We got this." And then like I just fucking knocked the fuck out. I was so
Mm,
tired, but
yeah.
it was a blast. But you know, what's funny is I was at work, and I was like, you know, what's gonna be really depressing is when I first started watching Le Mans. It was nighttime, and I know when I pull it back up, the sun is gonna be up, and
Yeah.
it's gonna make me realize how long I've been at work.
True. True.
I opened it up and the sun was up, but yeah, man, it was a blast, dude. It's honestly like I thought with the 24-hour race, like it was not going. I was like, I can jump in and out, right? Like because it's so long, but like
Yeah.
it was so electric, like that I didn't want to turn away from it. Like they make it because there's 80 drivers, so it's like they're constantly bouncing back and forth between whatever is going on, and then the top five like changed constantly, right? Like Cadillac at one point
Right.
is the American group. Cadillac was in the lead at one point, and so it was a lot of fun, man. I gotta watch it every year. I'm glad that I tuned in because it was a lot of fun to watch. But when you showed me those, when you told me that they had like dash cams
Yeah.
on YouTube for free, that shit was sick as fuck,
Yeah.
dude. Like that
Exactly.
shit's electric as hell.
Well,
So it
like
was
I
a lot of
turned it
fun.
on and the dash cam was fucking windshield wipers, and I'm like, God, like, and they're still cooking, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah.
it
So
was
I can imagine
crazy.
how intense.
Yeah, I'm
Why don't you
glad that
tell
you
the
got to
folks who
peek a little
won?
bit on it. And so is Ferrari.
Yep.
Sad day, man.
Yeah.
Should have been Ford. Should have been Ford. Where's Ken Miles when you need him? And I
Exactly.
and I texted Anthony. I was like, "Where are the fucking Fords, man? Come on!"
Yeah.
So,
They don't make
um,
them like they used to.
all right. So, movie wise, we have Pearl. So tell us you told me last week the sequential order that I should be watching this, but tell the viewers and tell us why
So
you picked Pearl.
okay, so 2022 was a wild year because X comes out in April, March, I think, and then September, same year, Pearl comes out. So, same director, Ty West, and there's a chronology with these films. We mentioned earlier, Pearl is a prequel to X, which is a prequel to Maxxxine. And the way that I've seen these films is we saw X first, which brought to you Blake. Now you've seen Pearl. So now you have some context, and we're obviously going to go deeper into Pearl, but it is going to be so cool to go back and watch X knowing this Pearl origin story. And then you're going to watch Pearl again, having all this context. And then you might watch X a third time. So you watch Pearl twice, you watch X 3 times, then you got Maxxxine coming around in July, which will put all these pieces together.
Right.
So I'm so excited to go see Maxxxine, and this gives us time to dive into Pearl. So on your first watch, how'd you feel?
So let me tell you something. I already texted you and Jordan. Mia Goth could do whatever she wanted to me. If she told me that she wanted to stab me with a pitchfork, I would let her do it. That girl is so bad, okay?
Oh
So
yeah,
I just want to get that out of the way now. We stand Mia Goth, all hail her, okay?
yeah,
The second part, I will say, I love the scene where he goes back to her ranch and realizes that she's fucking insane, because I think that like there's nothing more relatable than going home with a woman or bringing her home and realizing way too late that she is fucking a crazy person. So I think that seems great. But I will say, I know you don't like me comparing movies, Anthony, but I'm gonna do it.
okay,
I think X is a lot better because Pearl is really slow. It's really
yeah,
slow, but it makes sense in the context of X came out first. Because if Pearl came out as a standalone movie, I don't think it would have had the draw or success that it had without X, right?
Right.
Because the beginning, like the first, what it's like, it's only like an hour and 40 minutes, but the
Yeah.
first hour is like it's very slow, and I think without X, you wouldn't be invested in it. Which I'm glad that we had already watched X because it kept me hooked to it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the scene where she rapes the scarecrow was a little weird, but like I understand, like that's kind of Time West's whole thing.
You got to look at the Pearl character. The character of Pearl is a sheltered, foreigner who really has not left her farm. So like she's experiencing all these things for the first time. She's seeing a film or she goes to see films, with this kind of like adolescent like wonder to it, right? And then she gets jaded by the projectionist who shows her porn for the first time. This is a porn horror trilogy. It's what it is. That also salutes filmmaking. So like X is a slasher that they're making a film which happens to be a porn. And Pearl to me is like a neo-noir film. It's very dark, it's very slow, it's very dreamlike. There's bright colors and then there's dark scenes. And it kind of highlights the showcasing of film from a projectionist standpoint. And there's things like he gives her a scene, or a frame, I guess I should say, which is just like there's all these little nods to film, which I very much like appreciate. But the character of Pearl is so interesting because having seen X and seeing what she becomes, also understanding like Howard, the other, so just we're spoiling X, but you should have already seen it if you're here with us now. But like the idea is X is them having never left the farm, Howard and Pearl, the film showcases her relationship with Howard and how that kind of started. And you get to see Theta, the alligator, and her relationship with that thing, so it's good. Like, there's so much nuts and bolts of both films intertwined. Yeah. And again, Mia Goth, dude, she has like an 8-minute monologue that is insane.
I was just about to say like that like I was on the fence about it, like going like because and that monologue happens at the end, right? And like the first hour and 20, I was like, all right, man, like I get it and it's enjoyable in the sense of X, but then when she gives that monologue, she's just so good. Like the monologue is so good. It's so powerful, so dramatic, like in the way that she cries. Like she's such a good actor. Like apart from the fact that she's hot as shit, like she's just such a good fucking actor. And that scene where she gives that monologue and then the sister-in-law is like, oh yeah, all right, well bye. Like she's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here, this bitch is crazy. It's so good, dude. And like I think like the story that it tells is really funny, where like she kills once and she's like, oh, I can do this shit again, dude. Yeah. I can do this shit again and it's easy. And she just like continues to escalate and get more brutal with it and more dramatic with it. And like, it is really interesting. But like, I think like I said earlier, like as a standalone movie, I wouldn't like it. But with the context of X, it's really good. And X is really good. And I'm super excited for Maxxxine because like not only am I excited to see Mia Goth in like hopefully relatively normal clothing, like because she'll be like closer to our time period than the 1920s, but also like I'm just excited to see how it wraps up, like, and it's interesting that they give her writer credits, so I wonder how much she wrote her in the movie.
West, did this, with each other with the intent of doing all three films. Like they did the first two during the pandemic together. And it's very evident in this film, which is kind of like a nod to when it was shot, but also they wrote it into the story, being like a 1920s, 30s kind of epidemic happening, but you got folks in masks and very minimal cast. But again, she's very much invested in it from a creative standpoint. And I think that's what shows also through her acting, because it's ingrained in her. But to have basically three roles in the two movies, because in X she plays Pearl and Maxxxine, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like now, having seen Pearl, you go back and watch X and see all the clues that were in front of you. And then you just, like I said, it's a rabbit hole. And that's what makes these films so good, is that the more you watch them, the better they get,
Yeah.
because of everything that was right there. And just the fact that they're super well done, I think just speaks for itself. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm equally as stoked for Maxxxine. And
I
yeah.
do like that, like, she genuinely, like, they write her so insane as Pearl.
Yeah.
Like, she's such a fucking crazy person. Like, just the way that she, like, talks and acts. And, like, that scene, dude, that scene in the barn when
Oh,
the
yeah.
guy comes over there and she's, like, talking about how the animals, like, are her friends
Audience.
and shit. Yeah,
Mhm.
and then he's like, all right, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And she's like, what did I do? Like, just immediately.
Yeah.
That scene is so good, dude. She
Right?
kills it.
And that's
She's
like
the highlight of those films for
Oh
sure.
yeah, no doubt, and that's the thing, like that unstable character, right? You start to, like, you don't realize that you start to get, I think that's the slow burn of the early part of the film, is that you start to realize what's up with her,
Yeah.
like, what is
Yeah.
the deal? And like it just slowly just goes until she snaps, and then
Yeah.
it's like fucking everything's just gone. She
Yeah,
has
and
to gotta clean up her mess.
Yeah, and and he does, like, Ty West does do a really good job of, like, in both movies, but in particular in Pearl, like, he builds it so perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, he builds her insanity, like, at the perfect level where it's like, you keep thinking, like, is she fucking a crazy person? Like, if you had watched Pearl without watching X, you would be like, what, like, is
Right.
this girl insane or is she not? Right. Until she snaps. But
Yeah.
like it's inching closer and closer. Like, this bitch is fucking crazy, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the greatest credit scenes too. Just her face. She's there. She's just like breaking.
Yeah. So
there's
good.
one. There's also one thing I want to mention too. There's a line in this film in Pearl that is being spoken by older Pearl. Did you catch it at all?
No, which line was it?
So there's a line towards the end of the movie where Pearl is talking to the sister-in-law, and she says, "You always get everything you want. You're younger, you're blonde, you're more blonde." But if you go back and watch it, it's older Pearl's voice from X.
Shit,
so like,
that's fucking
and
crazy.
then like now think back on X, older Pearl's response to Brittany Snow, so like that's the thing. I'm just, there's seeds everywhere, and it's like so well done. And again, like that's the shit that like just catches me hook, line, and sinker. It's just like everything's in front of you now. Go deeper.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Hell yeah.
All right, so next week, what do you got for album?
All right, so I'm gonna play my cards, and we're gonna see what happens. I've laid this trail for you. I'm gonna read this trail off for you. All right. We listened to Pink Floyd, we did L1011, we did Papadozio, we did Telephone Tel Aviv, we did Tycho. So it only leads us to one particular artist who goes by the name of Dave Tipper, and this is gonna be a good one. The album is Jettison Mind Hatch. So not the most recent one, but I don't know what year it came out, but it's available. I think it will do him justice, and we will see how Blake responds to it. So Jettison Mind Hatch by Tipper.
2019, Jettison Mind Hatch. All right.
Beautiful.
All right, fair. For the movie, we're going to... I don't know. I get so picky when it comes to movies, almost more than I do with albums, because there's so many albums. But we're gonna dive into finally Dunkirk. You're gonna watch Dunkirk, and let me tell you, the viewers know we'll get more to this next week. My opinion on Christopher Nolan is a totally biased one that we will talk about next week. But we're going to talk Dunkirk. And just as a spoiler alert, one of my favorite movies of all fucking time. So I'm excited for you to watch it, and I need to hear your thoughts, because it's a mind trip. And let me tell you, there's some time elements to this, like not in the sense of like it drives the plot, but there are different time elements to how the story lays out. So just know that going into it. But yeah, I'm excited for you to watch it. So.
I'll say this too. I gotta double back on Tipper and say, headphones are highest quality audio you can to take that in for sure.
All right, very fair.
A lot of good art coming our way.
Fuck yeah, 100%. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. If you did listen or watch or whatever it is, Anthony, thanks for joining.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna end this. Stick around just for a split second, and guys, we'll see you next week.